connecting with the clouds. So welcome. Welcome. My name is Uma Dinsmore-Tuli, and I am delighted to be here in the company of the faculty of the Yoga Nidra Network. I'm going to introduce you to my co-founder, Nirlipta Tuli. Do you care to give a little wave, Nirlipta? Nirlipta Tuli is the co-founder of the Yoga Nidra Network. We're also introducing Dr. Theodora Wildcroft, faculty of the Yoga Nidra Network, who is our special advisor and curriculum development worker on trauma-informed practice, and also calling in from Chicago in the United States, Yoli Maya Yeh Joseph, who's on our curriculum development for diversity and ethics. Okay, so I'm absolutely delighted to share the practice of Total Yoga Nidra, why we feel it's so valuable and important right now. Yoli, can we hear what you have to say?
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me into this circle. And I'm going to jump just right in and get right to the point of we are in an extraordinary moment of revelation and really shining the light of illumination into dark corners. And right now we are galvanized in a global movement called Black Lives Matters, where we are actively centering the voices and experiences of Black people and Black, Brown, Indigenous people of color. And I really want to connect the critical importance of the healing justice aspect of this movement, where we, the healers, the teachers, the leaders of the yoga therapy experiences, the trauma-informed meditations, the yoga nidra, the restorative, restful, repairing practices that are so vital right now in order to continue to add to the longevity and vitality of the Black Lives Matters activist movement, the movement to dismantle racism and anti-Blackness globally, simply because whiteness is the construct that oppresses us all. What I want to highlight in this short video is the incredible need for the practices as well as the educational institutions that for these practices are shared from, that they are working in paradigms of anti-racism, decolonization, and being trauma-informed. And I want to lend my authority and agency to the Yoga Nidra Network and really share with you the personal note of why I'm aligned with this organization, because I know that the quality of the teaching that we're presenting in terms of Yoga Nidra, the therapeutic experience of conscious relaxation, the radical rest and renewal process that is healing at a quantum or fractal level. It's accelerated, it's exciting. And I want to make sure that the BIPOC community hears from a BIPOC person that this is a school that you can come to. This is a learning environment where your voice, your experience, and your body is centered. And that is so incredibly important and critical while we're seeing these wannabe statements of alignment, politicized, capitalist-inspired alignment statements that, hey, our yoga space, like, we're aligned with Black Lives Matter. It's like, yes, when they're not actively challenging their own structural racism and systems of harm and oppression within their own spaces, their own schools, their own content itself. So again, I just want to reiterate that while we are calling for spaces for rest and renewal, while we're galvanizing here in America around Juneteenth, while we are calling in the warriors of healing and justice to step up with our gifts, our offerings, and to hold our exclusive spaces, our affinity spaces, our dedicated spaces, that we're also able to access the quality of teaching that should be. So be aware that there's substandard and call it out. Shine the light on that as well. So I appreciate your attention. I appreciate this chance to drive that statement home. I hope.
Thank you, Yoli. Thank you. Thank you. So, next door to Yoli, Theo, would you like to speak to us?
It's so fantastic to hear Yoli say that, and I think that there's such a common thread for me in terms of spaces where we can feel included, and spaces where we can feel not that our safety is guaranteed, but that our safety is important and is understood. Like, what it takes for us to feel safe in spaces is understood, and I think that's so important. I'm mostly known these days as a researcher, but a lot of people know that I also teach yoga. But because I'm known as somebody who kind of comments on and researches on yoga, people come to me a lot to say, where do I go? Where do I go to feel safe in yoga spaces? And where do I go to train with people who aren't just making statements that are performative in nature, people who actually walk the talk, not just because that's important to us ethically, but because actually that's important to our safety and to our well-being. If we're not included in those spaces in ways that are authentic, often trauma survivors of all kinds and from all different populations are always going to be the first to suffer and the first to notice in our spaces. And what I see with the rise of a lot of supposedly trauma spaces is the importing of the same hierarchies and the same shit over and over again. That these are spaces where a particular kind of person, a particular class of person, a white person, often quite middle class and quite well spoken, is set up as being the expert in the room over the experiences of students. And we need to end that entire paradigm. And as a result, I know that Uma and I, and, with various other people, and with a lot of conversations with Yoli and Nirlipta, we've been having so many conversations around shared ethics, not as a statement that you just put up there and that is a thing, but, how do we talk about our ethics in ways that allow us to find safer spaces and to find our true allies, the people that we really want to work with. And I've been saying for months now that I'm getting clearer and clearer about who I want to work with, because I'm aware that when I stand with people, and when I stand on a stage with people, and when I stand at a conference with people, and when I stand next to people as a teacher, that confers some kind of approval on my part on what they do. And I want the people that I stand with to be safe for all of these groups of people, for Black people, brown people, Indigenous people of color, queer people, and trauma survivors of all kinds. Because let's be clear, the overlap and the connection between trauma survival and different kinds of oppressed groups is huge and complex and real. So it allows us to be able to find common ground, but also gives us common things to fight for. And I just think this is our way, not just of saying this is what we stand for, but this is what we will stand up for. And that is the difference. Like, you can hold us to account on these statements, basically.
Thank you, Theo. I'm moved to be able to speak about why I feel Yoga Nidra is such a precious tool right now. And hearing Yoli speak about the need for the rest and recuperation for activists, for people who are working right to dismantle harmful systems of oppression, to be right there on the front line for trauma survivors. I feel that each and every Nidra that we try to share, Yoga Nidra is such a precious practice, and it can be so harmful. I know this personally. We founded the Yoga Nidra Network as a result of recognizing what harm had been done in the yoga institutions where we had been trained, in the traditional hierarchies where massive abuses, sexual abuses and violence and exploitation and harm were rife in the yoga institutions that we came from, and that we moved away from that with this precious, precious tool. And that what we wanted to do was to actually allow for a liberation of this liberation tool. Yoga Nidra can give you an experience of freedom. It can actually allow a deep sense of rest and recovery, but it won't do that if you don't trust the people who are sharing it. And it can't do that in hierarchies and institutions that harbor abusive teachers and sexual violence and all kinds of insidious sorts of control that are really prevalent in very traditional ways of teaching Yoga Nidra. So all I wanted to say is that I feel really moved to actually liberate Nidra Shakti, the power of this deep rest, the power of rest, in such a way that everyone can access it and we can all benefit from it, and there is no harm attached to it, because we're clear, we stand up by our ethics. We spend a lot of time talking about ethics. We have spent months and months creating complex ethics documents that actually are implicit in how we teach. So how we teach in Yoga Nidra is always to create that sense of trust and to create a real space of rest that everybody is welcome in. And that's all I wanted to say. That's why I've spent the last few months like running a campaign to eradicate the abuse of women in yoga and to reclaim yoga as a tool for freedom and justice and healing. And Yoga Nidra is at the heart of that. And I feel we really need it. And we need it in its most high quality, best nourishing way, which is why I'm going to stop talking and ask my co-founder, Nirlipta Tuli, to speak. There you go, Nirlipta. Speak to us.
I have a vision of this Total Yoga Nidra, that it is actually alive. And it might sound a bit odd. And I feel that what we have to do is to get 1 in 7 people on the planet doing Yoga Nidra. I think it will probably make them feel better. And I'm not claiming that it will change the world, but I think it will help people. It will help them for bad things to stop happening quite as badly, or to shore up where they are. I think it's really important. I feel that it's keeping me alive, and as everyone has been saying, it's really important that people feel safe. 1 in 7 people on the planet, that is people from every country, every race, every background. It shouldn't be confined to just one group of people. It should be for everyone. We have Nidras in, I think it's 18 languages or something like that. We want to have more. We want it to be there for everyone. And my guiding principle in doing this is not to do good, but simply not to do harm, to do as little harm as possible, so that people can access this, so they can feel safe, they can feel reassured, and basically they can feel better after they've done Nidra than they did before. They can have some rest, or all of those things. And it shouldn't be in the confines of studios or just like that. It should be for everyone. And that, I think, is what we're about. We're trying to do this. It's a big job. It's bigger than we are, and that's where I am with it.
Thank you, Nirlipta.
Mm.
Thank you. Yeah. So thank you, Nirlipta. Thank you, Theo. Thank you, Yoli. As Nirlipta mentioned, we have currently Yoga Nidra in 18 different languages available on the Yoga Nidra Network for free, downloadable for free. We also train teachers. We run workshops. We're aiming to share this beautiful healing practice as widely as we can, because by golly, we need it now. If there's anything either Theo or Yoli would like to end with, I think the message is clear. yoganidranetwork.org is where you will find us and all our many associates and friends around the world. Big call out to everybody doing this work. Yoli or Theo, do you want to end with any farewells?
I invite you to explore the incredible healing capability of Yoga Nidra, and I know it's been a lifesaver for me and continues to be a daily lifeline in this work. And my fierce commitment to it being accessible in a decolonized, trauma-informed, and Black, Brown, Indigenous, people of color, people of the margins way is urgent, and I hope you all watching this video and pondering what we're sharing with you today will feel galvanized to equip yourself with the proper tools.
Yeah.
I only have really one thing to add, and that's that whatever we do, we do it as far as possible in a collaborative way, and that therefore the real involvement of people from all different communities, whether it be for people with different languages, whether it be from different backgrounds of different kinds, is also about making our work better, more diverse, more appropriate for wider groups of people, and that please help us make that even better, because every time I come across another barrier to this practice, it gives me another opportunity to learn and to develop in ways that are more exciting, as far as I'm concerned.
So thank you, everyone. We've been doing this work for a long time now. We founded the Yoga Nidra Network in 2011. We've been training Yoga Nidra teachers since 2009. We love this work. Thank you for listening. Yoga Nidra Network is where you find us. A grateful thanks to our faculty. And with great respect and love, I honor my heart, my inner teacher, and I honor she whose body is the world. We honor her. Jagadambe Mata Ki Jai. Thank you all. Go practice Yoga Nidra. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording now, and we will share this with you all. That is, oh no, stop the recording. Stop recording.